Okay, so my dad's, I guess, been binging this one show on Amazon Prime. May have heard of it, may not have. It's The Man in the High Castle. So kind of the scenario is it's post-World War II, kind of mid-60s time period. The difference is that between Japan and Nazi Germany, basically the US has fallen. So you've got Japan that basically controls the West Coast, and the Nazis that control west of the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountain area is kind of a bit of a neutral zone between the two countries. It was harder for them to take over for some reason. Can't imagine why. But what's interesting is I kind of caught it while my dad was in the middle of season 3. There's a part where the Nazis are pulling. It's towards the end of season 3, I think, actually. So in the American Reich, it seems that Herr Himmler is basically in charge of the American Reich, is one of the puppet nations of Nazi Germany, but they still interface and do those things with Germany, so they'll send people back to Berlin for re-education and things like that. But the Nazis end up tearing, in the start of a new year, the Nazis tear down the Statue of Liberty and topple it to begin Jahr Null, or Year Zero, of kind of the new Reich with the newest generation of youth post World War II. So they're kind of celebrating that, and as part of that they pull down that symbol. What ends up happening down the road too is you see a lot of Nazi youth in the streets of New York City chanting blood and soil, blood and soil, blood and soil. And they start rioting and destroying libraries and schools and a few other government buildings that aren't being quarantined off by the Reich. What's interesting is you get Himmler, and he's told by the Reichsmarshal that there are youth out in the streets burning and tearing things up and causing disturbances. And Himmler's like, oh, let it happen. They need a night to let their passions out. And as later on, they're at one of the government buildings, and there's literally rioting down the roads from them. And it's like Reichsmarshal again goes, we should really take care of this and stop this. And Himmler's like, no, let it happen. Because they were just warned that the library just down the road was up in flames and burning. And it's like, no, just let it happen. What's interesting is this was filmed a few years ago, before all the riots that we deal with now. And you kind of see this interesting play where what party has been allowing these rioters to run rampant. It's like, oh, well, rioting is the language of the unheard. It's like Martin Luther King even said so. But Martin Luther King never justified rioting as a legitimate way to express your feelings or ideas. He condemned it still, But yeah, he said that. But he didn't say that it was ever appropriate. And people have taken those words and said that have justified these actions by people. And you get a certain party of government officials that, just like Himmler, are like, they needed a night of passions that they can let out to their passions. They need 2 months that they can let out to their passions. And they just let it happen until it's enough, when it's at their doorstep. I mean, you can hate it all you want, but when I have looked at it, and other people have looked at it, these people that have said, oh, it's going to be a summer of love, or anything else dismissing these riots and things, have been Democrats. Whereas when you look at the Republican states where the riots shut down and where you haven't had that many problems, or as rampant of problems that way, where property and things were being destroyed, it's mostly from the Republican side. I mean, Republicans have their problems too. Don't get me wrong. But one side right now is standing up to all this more than the other. I mean, when you're telling your local officials that it's like, well, my business is being burned down. It's like, oh no, it's fine. Just let them do it. They need to get their passions out. It's like, how am I going to pay for these repairs? Oh, you pay for that yourself. It's like, but you let it happen. You get these police forces that have their hands tied because they're told, no, just let it happen. Just let them destroy and run amok and do whatever they want and act like petulant children. And then you wonder why people are voting to remove people from their office. That's why, because you've allowed this to happen. And it's not justice. It's not there. You say racial justice, but then it's like, I thought we were looking for justice, not racial justice. We can only move forward and right the wrong, turn things around so that moving forward things are right. You can't pay back what happened to your ancestors by taking debts on from their descendants. I mean, you'll look at it too, and people will ignore the fact that there were white Irishmen that were taken as slaves. And it's like, oh, but no. But my black reparations, it's like, no, what about the white men that were slaves? Do they not matter? No, but white versus black. It's like, really? So who's really the side that's on the bad side, the bad boys' side, that everybody whines about? When you look at it down the road, when I keep telling you that you're oppressed, am I mentally oppressing you by saying that you're continually telling you that you're an oppressed people? Or do I pull you out of that oppression by telling you that you can make it and then giving you the tools so that you can make it? Because I know there are people out there that actively go out and work to help other people, and they're being called racist when they're teaching them, no, you're not a victim of like the circumstances of the past of slavery. From here on out, you can move forward and do it. I've read examples of people that literally had disadvantages given to them that no one else had in things like military tests and things. But yet, they still made it. We've made it so easy for some people now, though. And then they still scream oppression. Maybe the oppression is in the form of giving them the easy way out instead of making them work for it. They don't get that sense of accomplishment. You can sort out who is going to accomplish something and who isn't by just giving everyone an even playing field and giving them the materials and telling them what they need to do or what end goal they need to make. Because those that will make it are gonna do something with what they're given. And those that are really on the bottom of the cesspool are gonna complain that either they weren't given enough or those people that built something oppressed them or took advantage of them or stole materials from them, even though they didn't. So when you look at the riots and things going on, maybe rather than looking at it with the glasses that we have been looking at it, maybe we look at it with a swastika over it. And it might change our mind about the way things are. If we think about this as a regime change, an insurgence from the liberty that was founded to something else, it might change your mind about what's happening and about the petulant children that are screaming in the streets and breaking things because they were told in school that they could whine and scream and that all through university they could act like children, and then they get dumped into the real world and they're not ready for it because their professors weren't prepping them for that. Anyway, yeah. Leave any comments. It'll be interesting.